My name is Bernard Conlon, and here I am sitting and relaxing on the slopes of Slieve Gullion Mountain in South Armagh. I'm about to have a chat with a geologist all the way from Galway, Siobhan Power, who is going to tell me all about the special rock formations in this area and the various events and activities that are going on that are organised by Newry and Mourne County Council in conjunction with other county councils north and south to highlight the Geo Tourism and other aspects of this very special area. Okay, I'm here in the Slieve Gullion courtyard with Siobhan Power, a lady from County Galway who's working with the Newry and Mourne County Council on a very interesting scheme. Siobhan, can you tell me a little bit about exactly what you're doing up here in Newry and Mourne?
Yes, well, I'm the geologist with the Mourne Cooley Gullion Geo Tourism project. It's a little bit of a mouthful. We are based in Newry and Mourne District Council, but we're also part of Banbridge District Council, Down District Council, and also Louth County Council, because we're a cross-border Interreg 4A funded project. The project is geotourism. We have a few aims. One is to create a new geotourism destination. People come to Ireland for the landscape. That is geotourism. They might not even know the word, but that's what it is. People have been coming for hundreds of years to the Giant's Causeway. People come to the Cliffs of Moher. That's what geotourism is. But it's also about the people who are here. So if the rocks, because geologist, it's rocks I like, rocks make the soil, make the farming practices, make the way people live, make the food. So it's all connected, and that's what geotourism is all about.
So you bring some expertise. You're a geologist. That's right. That's literally why you're up here. You specialize in the rocks and the landscape. You have special knowledge, so that's how you came about. Can you also let me know a little bit about how the cross-border dimension, how that developed, and when it developed, and how this geotourism project, when it emerged?
Yes, I am a geologist. My background is all geology. My PhD is on the rocks of Connemara, and then I studied a lot in Greenland, so I like Arctic rocks a lot. It's cross-border because of the type of rocks that are here. We have this unusual collection of rocks. We have the mountains in Cooley, and here Slieve Gullion and the Mourne Mountains. They're all similar age, and they all have a similar story. They're all connected. So geology ignores borders. That doesn't matter. The rocks aren't bothered about borders. We put the borders on. So that's why it's a natural connection across this border. But also it's to bring extra tourism. That's why it's the geotourism project. It's on the Dublin-Belfast road. It's on the major transport links close to the airports and ports. But tourism maybe doesn't have a tradition here like it would have in Kerry, or it would have even in the Giant's Causeway. So it's to use the natural resources we have here, the mountains, the lakes, Carlingford Lough, to use it as tourism or a way to attract people to this lovely part of the world.
So is this area, Cooley, Mourne and Gullion, is it of international significance in terms of geology and the attractions in this area?
It is indeed. If you just think on the island of Ireland, where it's the only place you can tell a particular story. It's the only place in Ireland that you can tell the story of an ocean closing, because oceans open and close. So you can tell that from the lowlands, the rocks around the coast and the lowlands, and you can tell the story of the North Atlantic opening. You can tell that from the three groups that I already spoke about: the Mournes, Cooley, and Gullion. So that's very important. Internationally, it has contributed a lot to science. Here we're on Slieve Gullion, but surrounding us is the Slieve Gullion ring dike, known locally, I suppose, as the Ring of Gullion. But that was the first ring dike ever described in scientific literature. That's a big contribution this area has given to science. It was described in 1932 by Ritchie and colleagues. So that was the first one that was ever described. The classification of the Mourne granites is the first time that method was ever used as well. The people who worked in Carlingford, the Cooley Peninsula, are the founding fathers of the classification of igneous rocks. So this area has contributed to international science. Scientists would know this area for its geology, maybe even more than the people who live here would know how important it is.
So, are the tourists coming in significant numbers? Is it something of does it have great potential as a tourist attraction? Has it reached its potential? Will it reach its potential in the next year, in the next few years? Is that part of your remit? Is that part of what you're trying to do in Uri, more in conjunction with your colleagues in Lloyd County Council and the other district councils that are involved in this project?
It is indeed. It has huge potential. It hasn't reached its potential, but we do sincerely hope it does reach its potential, and that's what we're part of what we're doing to work towards. Yes, we are working towards all that. It has the raw materials here. It has the mountains. It has the lakes. Carlingford Lough, huge resource that's underused for leisure. And it has the people, which is quite important as well. People make tourism as well. But we have more work to do. We have to get the word out. We have to crack the market of Ireland. So many people that come. I've done lectures in Cork and Galway and brought different groups here. And we never knew. I mean, people don't know. We have to crack the international market as well.
Well, along with geotourism or environmental or ecological tourism, you also have a notion of cultural tourism, and this area is very rich culturally. It's Cooley and the Mournes and Gullion is where people like the myths of Irish folklore were born. People like Cuchulainn and the Táin and the Ulster Cycle, that all has significance in this area. Can the two mix? Can you mix geotourism with cultural and mythological tourism?
You can, yes. Those stories, the myths, they were people's attempt at recognising the landscape. So that's what we're doing in geology. We understand the landscape. We read how it was formed. But if you think about myths, that's exactly what that was as well. But it was maybe a different way of doing it. They didn't have the scientific knowledge, so they created a story. And those stories are fantastic stories. There's one little step we've left out there, the archaeology, which is an important thing here, because we have a very high concentration of well-preserved Neolithic monuments. We've all four types are represented here, which you can't say for most other parts of this island. So that's a very important step. If you put geology, the landscape, the archaeology, and then you move into the people and how they started creating their stories to explain where they were and where they were from.
So I know this area, South Armagh, and this part of the country is famed for its stories and storytelling. So there's all that grand mixture. But you're also involved in a kind of educational process as well. You're trying to, I think, start off with increasing local knowledge, get local people involved with what you're doing. And I think you've embarked on some kind of educational process. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a few different strands to our educational bow. We have our primary and national school, so we do school visits where the children are taught about their geology, their archaeology, what's around them. It's not always in the curriculum, but it's nice. It gives a sense of pride as to where you're from if you know a little bit about what's outside the door. We're encouraging third level research. We had a big conference in June where we attracted international researchers to and present their work about this area. But also there's the lifelong learning. So we have a scheme, the Geo Ambassador Scheme. So that's for local people who quite often are involved already in tourism businesses or just are very interested. It's run in the IT or the SRC in Newry.
SRC.
The Southern Regional College here in Newry. It's run by a company, Transport and Tourism Consultants, and they hire in people quite often from the Geological Survey of Northern Ireland, some local people as well, to explain what's here, the geology that's here, as well talk a little bit about the myths and legends and how the two are connected. And we have 75 people have completed that. We'll be doing another course in the new year, but it gives people a new set of eyes, a new way to look at what's around them, and maybe a new strand to their own tourism businesses to explain what is here, and gives that sense of pride.
Can you just very briefly say something about how the cross-border project emerged? I think it was it's only a few years old. How did that actually come about, and who actually supports it? Where does the funding and support come from, and how did it emerge?
The project as it is this minute was started in 2012, but the idea of the project was there for quite a few years beforehand. I suppose it came from people who understood the geology and knew that there was this connection across the border, but also knew that it could be something that could be used for tourism. So the Heritage Officer in Louth County Council, Brendan McSharry, he has a background in geology. He would have been one of the first people. Same with Martin Carey and Mourne Heritage Trust. So it was they grouped together to write this proposal. But we are funded by Interreg 4A, so
Which is
the European Union, and it's managed by SEUPB, the special body. For cross-border body, yes. And they had this idea, they could see the potential, and finally they got the funding, and now this is the project.
Okay, Siobhan, we're almost halfway through November, and I know that we're heading rapidly towards Christmas, and you have a special event, a special week coming up, which towards the end of November, early December. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, we've what we call Geo Community Week. We held it in May and it was very successful, but we're holding it again. These Geo Ambassadors that I spoke about earlier, they're all local people, so it's a chance for them to run events. It's okay for me to give a lecture or other people to come in and give lectures or guided walks, but it's nicer if local people are doing it for themselves. So we have a few people who are mountain leaders who are doing guided walks across Cooley or in the Mourns. We have here in Slieve Gullion, we have a stargazing event, which should be very good. So that's earth geology, earth science, but it's bigger than earth science. We're moving outside the earth for that. We have a lecture in to celebrate the fact that Slieve Gullion Ring Dyke has been included in the 100 greatest geosites of Britain and Ireland. That was a major coup to get that. We're shoulder to shoulder with the Burn in County Clare and Giant's Causeway. So we have a lecture to celebrate that. Various other local events. There's a choir going up to Slieve Foy and giving a talk on the landscape. Well, the Geo Ambassadors are giving a talk on the landscape, and then choirs from France and Dublin and Carlingford will be singing it too.
It sounds fascinating, but what are the precise dates for these sequence of events?
So from the last Saturday in November until the first Saturday in December. And you can see all the details in the local press and our own Facebook page.
So that's something for everybody in this local area to look forward to, and it will raise awareness and appreciation among the local community about what they have on their doorstep, and it also makes people more aware of environment and environmental issues.
It should be something of note that it's the local people who are doing all this. It's that sense of pride that we have all these natural resources. By natural resources, I mean the mountains and the lakes. I don't mean minerals, and that we can use these to generate tourism and bring more people who don't know maybe how beautiful it is, and they can learn how beautiful it is and how much of value it is.
Siobhan, it sounds absolutely fascinating. I could speak to you for hours and hours about this. Is there anything else you want to add? Is there anything you want to highlight? You're a Galway lady, and you're from Glenamaddy. So what have you thought about? You've spent now a few years up in this part of the country. What are your impressions, and what sticks out in your mind about this area?
Well, I was away for 10 years. I lived in America and in Liverpool, so I feel like I've come home. So even though I'm not in Galway, I feel like I've come home and the people have welcomed me so much. It is an amazing countryside. The mountains and Carlingford Lough in particular, it is a welcoming place, a welcoming countryside. So I'm highly impressed with what's here, both for the scientific reasons and also from just the landscape reasons.
And around these mountains there are echoes of Cuchulainn and the Táin.
There are, I believe. Yes, I always have to be careful of that one because Queen Maeve, of course, was from not far from where I'm from, and I always get a little bit worried when I'm in Carlingford in case they decide to have a second battle about Queen Maeve.
So you look out for the Red Branch Knights.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. That was great.